This video, we coded it so that I could draw my whole D&D party in just under 9 hours. Sorry about that, I've been watching a lot of Dream videos recently. But yeah, I know it's been a hot minute since I posted anything on YouTube, but people keep subscribing to me, so I figured I'd try and get back into it, make something for them. Alrighty, suppose I'll start then. So you may be thinking, hey, I thought you were gonna draw your D&D party, but you're drawing a horse. And well spotted, that is in fact an awakened horse named Tiger Eye. He is a noble steed who can talk. He's a cleric with a high strength and wisdom and has a number of powerful attacks, including, hooves. And braiding his hair is our lovely Loxodon paladin, who also happens to be a hairdresser. Her name is Velmuna, and she's a real sweetheart with a southern accent, and she always does her best to make sure everyone's having a good time. So up next is Gonk, who is the party's bard. He's the youngest and not very bright, and despite being an orc, he has very high charisma and is an entertainer at heart. Let's just say that if Femboy Hooters existed in D&D, that's where he'd be working. He's a gentle soul, he's looking for love, and ready and willing to smash someone over the head with his ukulele. Then we have our human sorcerer, Emil Julius Quentin von Hawthorne Grimwald Vinstad III. I know, it's quite a mouthful. He's snobby, entitled, egotistical, and not used to being poor. He spent all of his money in exchange for one night in the best hotel in the city. And would you look at that, there's Carlos, my character. He's a Triton barbarian, 37, twice divorced. He's the type of guy to be fueling up on street food rather than listening to mission briefings. He may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but he has his moments. Namely in combat when he's swinging his axe around. In his arms, you'll find... oh god. Nibi, Elutra, Minza, Elmira, Karen, Tamila, Breely, Dazzlewizzle, Badger of the Realm, otherwise known as Ned. She is, for lack of a better word, the Karen of the party, and she will not hesitate to speak to a manager or demand better service. Despite being a 3-foot-tall cleric gnome, her personality is big, and she has a bit of a feud with Emil. And finally, the last long name, Sir Jakira Kerr, Cataphract to King Askar, Lion of the Royal Cavalry, Victor of Goldwater Pass, Knoll Slayer. Or just Jakira. She is a human fighter and Tiger Eye's partner in crime. As the straight man of the group, she's just kind of tired of the rest of the party's shenanigans. She's the type to look at the camera like Jim from The Office when the rest of us do something silly, like, I don't know, buy 10 jars of bees as a hypothetical random example. And that's all 7 of us. Yep, 7. No wonder it took me 9 hours to draw everyone. So, now that we've kind of got the character introductions out of the way, I just wanted to point out that I got a mic recently. Like an actual one, not the headphones I was using before. So, hopefully that sounds a little better. I feel like my YouTube voice is still in the Bambi walking for the first time stage in its development. And I'm definitely gonna watch this back in a few months and cringe, but you know, gotta start somewhere, I guess. As for the actual drawing process, I took the pretty standard approach of doing a sketch, then the line art, then the color, with some tweaking at the end. It's pretty straightforward, nothing too fancy. For me, the process of lining a drawing is pretty much just drawing the same line over and over again until it looks right. I did myself the favor of having a pretty detailed sketch this time, so at this point I don't really have to think about it that much. For this drawing, I used a brush that's meant to emulate the texture of a pencil. I wasn't really in the mood for, like, pixel perfect, super clean lines. The textured brush kind of gives some nice leeway, It's a good balance of not being extremely precise but still looking relatively finished. I always try to minimize my zooming and moving the canvas around when I'm recording it, because I want you to be able to actually see what's going on. So this kind of line art helps with that. So I don't have to zoom in to 300% all the time, jumping all over the canvas. I'm not saying that I was purposely lazy with the drawing, but I am saying that when you're lining 7 relatively complex characters, if you can shave off an hour or two with some simpler line art, that's probably the way to go. So, seeing as I don't normally draw anything with this many characters, I decided to make it easy for myself by masking off each one in their own color so I could easily tell which layer is which at a glance. After that, I just go ahead and lay down all the flats. It's pretty tedious with this many characters, but you just gotta throw on a live stream or a podcast and get through it. Off screen, I have reference images of all the characters, which I followed pretty closely by eyeballing the colors. One nice thing about being in a D&D group full of artists is you get to actually see everyone's characters exactly the way they see them in their heads. It's also really fun to whip up little MS Paint comics on the stuff we get up to while we're playing. I never really got the chance to play D&D before, and then right when I was about to have a group set up, quarantine happened and that kind of fizzled out. Thankfully, soon after, some buddies on Discord organized a party and I was quick to join. This is actually the second campaign I've played now. I debated drawing the first party, but since I've spent longer with those characters, I ended up getting really attached to all the NPCs, and I would feel bad for leaving some out. So I decided to go for this newer party, seeing as I only really care for the core cast of characters so far. So once the flats are finished, I go ahead and get going on the shading. I'm normally a little more careful about this, but again, since there's so many characters here, I just went ahead and set up a masked layer set to multiply and gave them all the same treatment. As I always tend to do, once everything's pretty much good to go, I spend a while messing around with colors and gradients and little tricks to give everything a bit of a final layer of polish. What you're looking at right there is definitely not a jar of bees. Our group did not spend 300 gold coins on bees. That would be crazy. There are definitely not 9 other jars of bees in our possession. And just finishing up here, my go-to trio is to add some chromatic aberration, increase the sharpness with a high pass layer, and add a bit of a film grain. And there you have it. 9 hours and 1 sore wrist later, it's finished. Thanks for watching.